Hey, there he is. Right. Oh, I can't hear you, mate. Basil, I think you need to unmute your microphone. Basil, I think you need to unmute your microphone, mate. If you don't unmute it, you need to unmute your microphone, otherwise we won't be able to hear what you're saying.
I have unmuted my microphone. I was just stringing you along. Boom, boom. Hello, Mr. Barney. You fell for it.
Yes, I
I
should have
mean, I
gone
can
better,
mute it
shouldn't
if you
I?
like. I tell you what, I can mute it because I'm very good at this. Look, hang on. No, it's not working now. Oh, I never know what I'm doing. Oh, this is great. Hello, Mr. Barney.
Hello, Mr. Basil. How are you, sir? It's been such a long time.
I can't believe it. It's been a number of years since we were there on those wonderful Swap Shop days and CBBC days. And by Jove, you've grown some hair, haven't you?
This is what's known as lockdown hair. Yes, this is no trip to the hairdressers for about 8 months now. I think it is. So it's become a bit of a
Yeah.
mop. Yeah.
And the fur around the chin, you see, everybody has to do that. It disguises the cracks as you get older.
Is that what that is? Hey, mate. I was trying to work out how long we have known each other for, and I think we first met each other about 20 years ago.
By Jove. I mean, that's when we first started on CBBC doing the Basil Brush show. I think it was 2001 or 2002, something like that.
Yeah,
And did you come down on the set?
I did. That's right. You were doing what I think was your first series, and I came down with a competition winner from CBBC, and we came to Maidstone where you were filming, and we did like a behind the scenes of Basil Brush, and that was the very first time I think we actually met. And then, obviously, since then things went from strength to strength, and we had our own show together, and we did loads of stuff. But it's been really nice because I've had the chance to actually go on to YouTube and try and find some clips of stuff that we did. Mate, there's loads of stuff that we did on there.
I can't believe, I don't know who it is that's putting it out there, but it looks like we're very current. That we don't need to be on CBBC anymore. We've got our own channels, mate.
Mate,
You know,
there is so much stuff going on YouTube. I set this up and just for a bit of a laugh, really, because
yeah.
I think when you do it for a living, you don't really want to get in front of a camera and and just waffle. But actually, I'm quite enjoying it. We're doing some quite nice creative stuff, and so I
I
thought
know.
let's
I
get
mean, all
back
of last
to
year,
the old days.
in the last lockdown, I found myself as busy as ever. And I've sort of made my own little television studio here at home and made it all foxy with my little cushions and things, and leaving messages for people I've been helping out, sort of various charities and things, and doing little bits and bobs for quizzes, but from the comfort of my own little home. It's marvelous. You don't have to leave home, do you?
It's great, isn't it? Because you can build your own little TV studio and just do everything like we're doing now, just zooming to each other. Well, that's really nice though that you're
Yeah,
helping
well,
out
I
companies and so do you record messages for people if they get in touch? They can ask you to record a message and you just send them one. That's a great idea.
Yeah, well, happy birthdays. I mean, funnily enough, last year I was doing messages for kids in hospitals. I did an online quiz for Marie Curie, which was great. And I've been doing these online smiling sessions, singing for folks in care homes. And then somebody says, do you do birthday messages? And I thought, well, not really. I've not done those. But I've popped myself on now onto a thing called Celeb VM and Cameo and Thrills. And if it's a way of engaging with our fans, and I can wish them a happy birthday, happy anniversary. I'm doing lots of Valentine messages at the moment, and I stand in front of my lovely glitzy curtain and wish them all a happy birthday. And you know what? I'm having great fun doing it. It's marvelous.
Oh,
So I'll
good.
do one for you for your birthday.
Thank you. Well, you missed it. It was months ago now, but that sounds about right. Listen, I've gone back into the archives and found loads of bits, and I've got
Yes.
some clips that I'm dying to show you because I'd forgotten. Also, do you remember which young boy we had on Swap Shop who was on bunk beds with his sister, who went on to become a very famous person?
Is that right? We had a very famous show. It's amazing, actually, because we've gone back 20 years. I don't know whether you've come across this. Now people are coming up to me, like Glastonbury and sometimes down the high street, and say, I grew up with you. I was on your program. And you're looking at this young man of about 22, 23 years old.
You
And
know,
of course, they've completely changed. So you're telling me we've got a young man who came on our program and is now quite a celebrity.
should I show you who it is?
Go on, give
I'm
it
gonna,
up. Go on, give it up.
You know how to share your screen on this, by the way. Oh, look! I've got all these things lined up so you can see. Look at this
Yeah.
photo that we found here of me and you and
I,
our.
I, I don't show. Oh my word! Look at you. It's taken you all these years to grow that beard, isn't it?
I think
You
that's
can
when
see
I
the beginnings
started
of it
growing.
there.
The hair actually isn't too different, is it? It's even going over to the same side. That's
No,
a while back.
but it's that little start of a little bit of a rough beard you've got there. You'll grow it all over your face eventually and look like me.
It's like it's upside down my head at the moment. Right, let me share the right page. So
Let's see. This is very clever what you're doing, Mr. Barney.
it's this
I'd
one.
just delete the internet if I did it.
Okay, so I'm going to play this clip. Now, obviously, for those who used to watch Basil and Barney's Swap Shop, we played this game show where we
Yes.
had a game called Dunk Beds, where it was basically a bed. You would push it along a travelator. It would go so far. You had to try and score some points that were measured on the side of the sort of bed wall. And if you pushed it too far, the bed would collapse and fall into a big sort of pot of gunge. Well,
Can
on
I
this,
interrupt you there, Barney?
sure.
Can I and show you? I've got actually here. Look, let me just bring this up. This is the model that was made by the designer at Swap Shop.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he gave this to me afterwards. So if I could show it to the camera. So this is the mock-up model that was made.
Mate,
You
look at
see
that.
that it's
I
quite
remember
heavy
that.
actually. And it pushes along. So that's the bed. And it pushes along like that to the end. And our youngsters would fall in. I haven't got it there. I would normally put something there, a bit of gunge at the end. But can you believe that that is the actual model
Mate, I
that
remember
made
him
it?
giving it to you. I remember that very well.
Hang
Yeah.
on, put that down there. But what the kids didn't realise was how cold the gunge was at the end because they put it outside for the week. So when the kids went into the gunge, it was sub-zero temperatures, especially in the winter, and hadn't frozen.
Yeah, we never told them that, though, did we? We just sort of let
No.
them. Well, let
So
me
the
show you this
faces
clip.
that they pull. So yeah, show me what you've got there.
So this is a young boy and his sister, and this young lad this kid here
Yeah.
went on to be a very famous person. Hang on, let's play
Let's see
it.
if I can recognise him.
You, mate. Give us a bit of a flex on those muscles. We've got to use those pretty wisely in this game. Don't push too hard, or you will end up in the drink, Rosie. Okay, Basil, we're set to go.
Okay, bees, go on the pier to push. 3, 2, 1, push.
That was a very controlled push there from George. I think he's a little nervous about pushing it too hard, which means
Oh, look at how cold that is.
definitely in the minus.
So good.
I don't even think we're going to reach zero on this, although we might just tip into it.
Ooh, it takes skill. The bees might have been stunned by
Ooh.
0 points for the bees.
Which was I wasn't a bad score at all, 0 points, because that meant that they didn't go into the drink. But that young boy that was pushing Rosie along there was George Sampson, who went on to win. It was either Britain's Got Talent. Was it Britain's Got Talent or X Factor? It was Britain's Got Talent he won. And
Was he really? And what was he doing? Was he singing, or what was he doing on it?
he was a really amazing. He actually did it on the show. He could do all the body locking stuff, all the dancing.
Oh, he was a dancer.
He went on to
Oh,
that.
good lad. Good lad. I've got to say, Dunk Beds was actually my favourite show because it always kicked the show off really well. And the faces that we were always rather disappointed if somebody didn't go in the dunk.
Well, if you remember rightly, sometimes you didn't need to score any points to get through to the next round. So if
Yes.
somebody had already gone into the drink a couple of times or got really rubbish points or minus points, then the last pair of kids to go through only had to get a 0.
Had to stay up, yes.
So I would always say to them, well, it's up to you. You can either push it and try and hit 0 or go straight in the drink because it's the same score. And of course, everybody would push their brother or their cousin or whoever the relation was straight
Yeah,
into
to get them in the gunk. Yeah,
Mate.
I loved the faces that were pulled, and especially in slow motion, because it really was cold inside that gunk. And thankfully, you didn't go in ever, did you? Just for the fun of it. I don't think you went in.
I don't think I did. No, I don't. I think because that's unlike me. I would have normally joined in, but no, I don't think I ever went
Yeah.
in because I think I know how.
No, it was too cold, but it's one of those classic games of a game show like that could run and run. I'd love to have seen it on Crackerjack when they came back. I said they need the dunk bed. It's a classic game.
I wonder if they've still got it somewhere in a warehouse, or if it's still built, or if they sort of broke it down because they used to recycle sets quite a lot, didn't they? They'd break them down and make something else.
Yeah. I mean, I wondered how many games we actually made, because over 3 years and the 3 series that we did, every week there was a different game,
There
of
was,
course.
so I was looking online earlier, and
Yes.
I think I must have counted 20, 25, because they were different every week. It wasn't the same game, apart from Duck Beds and those. But we had because of course we had Ugly Yeti in the later series, who was
Yeah, in the latter series, yeah, we had to chase in space, and of course, when the Yeti came. I mean, would you? But it looks like I've nicked most of the set, but this was my space helmet when we had
oh
Yetis in space. So,
I remember
I nicked most of the props and things that were there.
that sounds about right.
I'm a bit
Well,
of a
look,
naughty fox.
of course there was some other stuff that we did, and I'd like to make a statement here because obviously when they see you on TV, you've been a professional for decades now. You've been on television
Yeah.
since I was a kid and well before. And nobody really understands how hard it is to learn a script, especially on live television. If you've got 2 hours of live TV and all you've really got are bullet points that tell you where you're going next, I was always fascinated by how much you could remember. And I'm going to show you something now. Now, we did comedy sketches every week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got to say, you're saying how much I remember. I looked at you as if you had a photographic memory
Well,
of
I,
things.
I
You used to
do.
look at a script. You just used to look at a script and go, right, I've got that, Basil. And I'm still there staring at my script. And in fact, I used to have to put the script under, to one side off the camera, because really I couldn't memorize the script. I often say it's as if I'm reading the script, if you know what I mean.
I
But
mean,
I just have it off camera.
I'm sure I never saw you reading one. But
No.
let me play you this clip because we did. So we do you remember how many comedy sketches we did? Can you name any of them?
Well, okay, I can name you some. I can remember we did Snout to Nose that eventually turned into Tea Break. I can remember that we did you as the guys that do Dragon's Den.
That's right. Yeah.
I can remember dressing up as a bumblebee. I can remember, honestly, one of my favorite actually was Quiz Show Colin.
Oh yeah. Quiz show.
I mean,
Colin.
this is not bad for a fox. Me remembering this, my memory is completely shot. We did so many sketches, hundreds of sketches, in fact, and we would gang shoot them in a day and be exhausted by the end of the day with the sketches.
Yeah, I used to get quite a lot of questions about how it was filmed because obviously with it being a live show, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
dead easy for you, and you just turn up, do 2 hours, and that's it. Your job's finished." But when
No.
that show finished, we were there for the rest of the day filming all the sketches for the following week. We'd also been there the day before, getting ready for all the prizes, and we had a dress rehearsal and all those
Yeah.
sort of things. It was a mammoth task, and that's
I think people, when they watch television, I don't think they realize. I mean, it's a bit like a swan above water. We all look very calm, but below the water, there's lots of frantic activity. And the amount of work for what was an hour of television, there was a whole team behind us. And they'd spent all week working out of the games. And we came in really doing the easy bit on a Thursday night, rehearsed Friday. But the difficult day was Saturday, which was a 5 o'clock in the morning start. And then once we'd done the live television, we then had to film all the games for the following week, which went through to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, non-stop. And we were absolutely exhausted.
it was full on, to say the least. It was proper live
So it was
television.
a rest. It was a rest when we had the sketches.
It was quite nice to do the sketches because we could at least sit down. And if you might remember this, because I'm going to show you this clip now, which is your ability
Okay.
to learn a script, but
Oh,
also
go on then.
Snout to Nose became a bit of a game for you because
Oh,
for those viewers that are watching that don't know what Snout to Nose is or might remember it, it was basically Basil and I face to face, and then we would just talk nonsense really, and we were talking about marmalade in one of them, but it was just the game became you trying to make me laugh, and then that's what the sketch became.
absolutely.
It was is
I
Barney
know.
laugh today.
And there was very little content to the actual thing, but it may have been just a play on words. But we sat there, if you remember, just you and I with the camera crew in absolute silence, and we would be, and that's why it was wonderful in the actual show, because it was a moment of stillness with all the chaos that was going on behind us. And I can remember one now, if I say to you, hummus,
Yeah.
and then you'd say back to me, go on.
Oh, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, chickpeas.
No, no, no. Oh, he's lost. He's lost it. No, it was basically how you pronounce hummus.
Oh,
So
yes.
yes, there you see, you've got it now. So basically, it was this me saying, so I went to the supermarket and I got some hummus.
I went to the supermarket and I bought some hummus.
Hummus.
Maybe we could do this all day.
I know, but that was basically, and I had to make you laugh somehow.
You did every week. It's because we did a little rehearsal. We used to sort of have a little read through first, and then you would always change the way you did it on the live. Well, this one now that I'm going to play you, I'm going to screen share.
Okay.
This is one of those scenes where you just it's snout to nose, of course it is. And let me just play this. And just for those that are watching this, all I'm going to set this up by saying is this is a ridiculous conversation that we had some 10 years ago now, and just listen and watch and marvel at how good Basil was with this script. Watch this.
You're very kind. You're very kind.
So good. So good. Here we go.
Been up to anything interesting recently?
Not really. I went to the post office. I had to sort some parcels out.
So you got it all sorted then?
Yeah, easy as pie.
Why would you say that?
What?
Easy as pie. Let me assure you, making a pie isn't easy. You've got to get the flour, get the butter, get the water, make the dough, roll out the dough, get it into the pie dish. And you know, that's just the fiddly bit. Then you need to put the filling in. And what you want as filling, you've got to make a decision. Apple, cherry, gooseberry, rhubarb. What about chicken or beef? Then you need to cover it in pastry, brush an egg over the top of it and bake it. Is the oven the right temperature? How long are you going to leave it in for? Too long, too little, too hot, too cold? And you say, easy as pie?
It's impressive.
Sorry. It's just a phrase.
Yeah, well, it's not easy as pie. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I say something else then, like piece of cake.
That's no better. Making a cake is even harder than making a pie. You've got to get the flour, get the eggs, get the baking powder, get the sugar, get the butter, make the cake, mix it carefully, pour it into the cake tin, bake it, test it, put your finger in the middle. Has it risen enough? Has it risen too little? Is it too firm or does it spring back? Has it been in too long? Has it been in too little? I've had more cakes go wrong on me than you've had hot dinners.
I'm sorry. I won't use such half-baked phrases. I'll use my loaf next time. Wouldn't want to have to eat humble pie again.
You take the piece.
Ooh, Garibaldi's.
2 words. Ginger. Nuts.
Touché.
Yeah, nice try, Basil.
Oh, fantastic.
So good. And it was just nonsense. It was just every week we had scripts to stick to that actually I don't think we ever stuck to them, to be honest. We just sort of played around with them a little bit. But that's one of my favourite sketches we ever did because it was just you and me face to face.
Yep.
And it gave you a chance to really show what you were capable of. I thought that was a fantastic performance from you in that sketch.
Well, and I tell you what I used to love of you, Barney. You have wonderful looks to the camera, but you have great understanding of comedy because you had great stillness, and then it was just a little look, a little something, and thinking. It's wonderful. I think we were a great double act. I mean, I remember we went on at several times, and people referred we'd finish each other's
Sandwiches.
sentences. Yes. You see, you remember. And we literally could. I think we spent so much time together. We had sort of an ESP, like when the program was winding up at the end, you'd only have 5 or 10 seconds to go. We would know, alternating speaking towards the end, who was going to have the last line, depending on how many seconds was left. But we just sort of knew that, didn't we?
I think when you work with somebody so much, because we were together for quite a few years. I mean, we'd known each other anyway because obviously we hung out outside of work. You know, we used to go and play golf together and do all that kind of stuff. So we knew each other really well. And I think once you start to get a sense of how somebody else ticks, what you know,
Yes.
what their brain does, you I don't know, you just get more comfortable with each other, don't you? I've never
But
been in a
also,
situation
I
before.
also, if anything went wrong, you would have,
Yeah. What you mean, like now?
you know that we're there for each other at any moment. Hello,
As you
have you frozen?
did you do that deliberately? Was that deliberate then?
But I can, I can,
See, this is what I
now
mean.
messing
Comedy
about now.
gold. Comedy gold. Well, I've dug some photos out as well. Do you want to see them?
Go on, what have you got?
This is early days. This is
Have
CBBC.
I got my clothes on? Have I got my clothes on?
You've got your clothes on, yeah. Although I've never
Yeah.
seen you that. Oh no, there was that one time in the shower, wasn't there? But you didn't know I was there.
No.
Let's so photos. This of course is the famous.
That's one of our publicity shots, I think.
Yeah, we used to sign that for people, didn't we?
Yeah, that was lovely.
Love
Oh,
it.
by Jove, you look young there. So do I, actually.
You haven't changed a bit, Basil. Yeah, this was
You're too
an
kind,
alternative
too
one.
kind.
Nice. And then if now, do you remember when? So this picture here, that's when I came down to the set to
Yes.
visit. That's got to be one of the first series, hasn't it?
That is it. I mean, that's Mr. Anil, of course. Funnily enough, I'm good friends with Mr. Anil. I know an awful lot of him. Mr. Stephen there on the right-hand side, we toured for many years together. And he starred in a number of West End shows, and he does a lot of book reading and online stuff. And he's still going very strong. And again, we've kept in touch. Miss Molly in the middle, she went on to do some Harry Potter films.
Wow.
And I was also fortunate enough to do a pantomime with her at the Theatre Royal Windsor. But I mean, these kids now are late 20s. This is a remarkable thing, you know. And young Michael Hayes on the left there, he's a primary school teacher actually in Northampton, and hugely popular with his kids who can't believe that he was in this show. And he started when he was 10 years old in the show. And, you know, both these kids went through 6 years with us, and we watched them grow up, and they've all been great friends, and we've all kept in touch, which I think is rather splendid. One of the best times of my life was doing all this work on CBBC, and we've made lifelong friends like yourself, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then people come up to us and say, I grew up with you. And I'm so proud of that, actually, Mr. Barn. Very proud of that.
Yeah, I am as well. Well, if you think about the age of the audience, I mean, you know, when we were on TV in the early days, those kids are going to be sort of between 6 and 12 years old. And, you know, I was at CBBC for 17 years. So
Crumbs.
they're going to be, you know, a lot older.
Well, I have noticed when I go to Glastonbury, a lot of kids come up to us and saying, you know, they were the CBBC generation. So in my tent, I've got the CBBC generation that grew up with us, but also those that grew up with myself in the 60s and the 70s. And it's rather flattering that they say we were part of their childhood, you know.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Well, actually, you did a video for me a couple of days ago because I have so all the microphones that I have are made by a very clever guy called Trevor, and his wife Lisa own a company together. He started off making these microphones in his shed. Even my big mic that I do my voiceovers on, and when I'm singing.
Well, hang on a minute. That's the biggest. That's the biggest microphone I've ever seen in my. Oh, it's either that or it's very close to the camera.
So this bit at the front actually it doesn't come as part of the mic. That's just a big sort of. That's so I've got like.
Oh, it's an eyeball. It's a Trinitron eyeball.
It's basically just a way of making sure. So rather than being in a soundproof studio where you've got to make all the, you know, all the walls, you know, deflect audio. That's what that thing does. So, but anyway, all these microphones are made by Trevor and Sontronics, and they are the best.
Hello, Trevor.
Hey, Trev, Ledge. This isn't sponsored by Trevor. I wish it was. But yeah, you did a message for him. We were just talking about how people, you know, that watched in the 60s. Sorry, Trev. You know, he hasn't stopped talking about it. He literally called his mother straight away and said, "You're never going to guess who sent me a message." He was quite excited about it. But
I love that.
It's a nice thing.
I love that.
Let me go back to some more photos here because
more photos. I do remember, and I'm sure you can bring this photograph up, because once I'd started doing the Basil Brush show, I used to come across to the CBBC. We used to say going over to the CBBCites, all your online presentation. There they all are, and I would come in and sort of each week or every couple of weeks come in, and I'd be on screen with one of you guys there. I recognise Jake Humphries at the top. I remember when he started, and of course your good self, and I think the blonde young girl leaning over the back of my, is that Kate?
That's over the back of you. That's Sophie.
Sophie, that's right,
So, yeah,
Sophie. So I'd never quite know who I was going to be presenting with, but I've got to say I always looked forward to doing it with you because you remembered everything so easily.
well, this is the A team as far as we're concerned. The only person that's missing in this shot is Michael Absalom, who's still a very good friend of mine, who's an absolute legend. But that was pretty much the lineup of CBBC for quite a while. So you got Matt Edmondson, who everyone knows from
Yep.
ITV now. Sophie.
Yes.
Weirdly, I bumped into Sophie. I was at the Chippy a few months ago. I went for some chips.
Yes.
I go and sit on the prom and have fish and chips. And this girl walked past that because I haven't seen Sophie for quite a few years, and I recognised her instantly. She was out with the kids. I was like, Soph, and she turned around. It was of all people to meet in my favourite Chippy. Jake, last time I saw him was his 40th birthday, which was last year. Rani in the middle. She worked with Abs on a show called Best of Friends. That's Dev at the back. He was in, what's the name of that show that he was in on CBBC? You Get Me. Was it You Get Me?
I know so many of them, but you see, because we haven't seen these folks for such a long time, I've forgotten most of their names. And also, sometimes I'd only see people a couple of times. But this was the Christmas show. And I remember you getting on the piano and playing songs, and we all sang Christmas carols to everybody at home. We were a great bunch. It was like a family at the time, and I loved it.
You know, it really was a family. It's because we didn't really see each other that often. We only saw each other on our shift. So we would get a rota that said that, let's say today. And do you know what? I found these in my loft only a few weeks ago as well. I've actually got the original rotas from when I first started. And we had a rota for BBC One, a rota for BBC Two, the CBBC channel, which had just launched at the time. And it was a grey piece of paper. And then it were coloured blocks that said Sophie and Barney from 8 till 10, Abs and Mahini from whatever till whatever.
Yes.
And what was quite mad about looking back at that was the names that were on that list. Because I'd forgotten how many of us at one time were presenting some form of output for CBBC. You know,
I mean, it was almost 24 hours television, wasn't it? I mean, it was quite unique. It was a new era on children's television to have so much live television and online presenters all day. And I used to look forward to coming in, but I'd never know who I'd be presenting with because the team would change over. And some days I'd be there all day and I'd be presenting with a different person. I remember Angelica Bell came on board as well. She came on a bit later on, and I see her a lot, and she's done very well. And we see her on the One show, and a lot of people have gone on to other, and Blue Peter, of course. You know, you being a Blue Peterite.
Well, I think when we did, I think actually I've got some Blue Peter shots here, as you just.
Yes, because I went in there quite regularly.
Well, I think I wasn't on Blue Peter just yet when you went in there. So this shot here with me, you, and Tommy.
Yes, I think we must have been talking about Swap Shop then.
Yeah, we must have done. It must have because
you weren't a presenter then. I was regularly good. I used to going on every Friday for a couple of years to present the letters.
Well, I actually know what year this is. I know exactly what my memory's like. I've got a strange memory. I remember everything. But this was actually 2007. And the reason I know that is because that red jumper and my hair, which had little blonde streaks in it, was done for the second series of Prank Patrol. So I remember getting it done. And I remember getting in trouble. And that studio is TC1. It's the big studio at TV Centre in London.
It's been turned into a flat now, I think. Oh, no, those studios might still be there.
I think they are still there, the studios. Yeah, the rest of it's been turned into a flat. I actually went back with Abs last year before lockdown. And it was weird to be back because we cut our teeth there. You know, I'm actually quite sad about it because it should have always just stayed as a TV studios. In my humble opinion, it was an incredible place and so many.
Oh, there was magic there. There was history. I think once you walked in there, you were part of history. Morecambe and Wise shot their shows there. It was quite amazing, you know, to be part of it. But it was probably falling down in some of the parts of it. But I loved our little CBBC section. You felt at home there. And everybody looked after each other.
It was just a huge buzz, CBBC, it always was. This is a shot of us, I guess that's the same day, but with Andy and Geffen.
That was probably the same day with the team that are there. Oh, it was wonderful. It was a little bit of magic.
It really was. Mates, there you go.
Matt Baker, I think I've got is there a picture? Oh, look, there's Angelica. I told you Angelica was around. I've still got that cowboy hat actually upstairs.
I'm pretty sure you wore that on Swap Shop, actually. I remember this is before we did Swap Shop. This is early days because my hair was silly long and I looked quite baby faced in this one. And
Wow.
that studio that we're in there, that studio
Yes.
is TC9. That was at the back. That was the CBBC studio for BBC One that was next to the old Blue Peter Garden. And
Oh yes, because it used to be across the road from the main studio. We had CBBC on one side, you'd go in one, and they had the other two studios on the other side where Blue Peter was in the big studio.
yeah, and right next to this studio was the restaurant block. So about 11:30, it started to smell like biscuits. It was amazing. It's one of my
Oh,
favorite.
it was lovely. Yeah,
Um,
and something we'd send people out for coffees and things, and I'd have a nice cup of tea and dunk me ginger nuts.
yeah, stop it. There you are. That's you and Matt Baker, and that's early days because that's the old Blue Peter logo as well. So, and for some,
Oh
reason,
yes.
we're both being Boy Scouts going
I
camping.
mean, we had this running joke with Matt actually that everybody else had letters and stuff from viewers, that Matt for several weeks didn't get anything, and he was most disappointed. And after about 10 weeks, suddenly they had this digger. I mean, talk about days. They hired this huge digger that came in with mail bags that they'd all put aside for Matt. We'd set him up. We put all his mail away that he didn't get any mail for many, many weeks. And then he had it all in one go delivered in the studio. He was marvelous. He was great fun.
He's a lovely boy, Matt Baker. He still is. Yeah, I saw him last year as well. I mean, we all catch up every so often. You know, if it's birthdays or there might be some sort of anniversary or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we were meant to do pantomime together last year, but of course, all this COVID business pulled it. For the first time, we were going to be together and maybe have a game of golf.
mate, and again, only just so last year's pantomime was cancelled. This is an Easter panto. Last year's panto was cancelled, and
Yeah.
it's just been cancelled again for this year. It's
Oh, they just keep
crazy.
cancelling it, don't they? One day we will get together back. I mean, I've got to say to everybody that, on Thursday and Friday evenings, when we were wondering what we were going to do with ourselves, instead of watching the telly, because there wasn't a Netflix in those days, of course, and the internet wasn't so good as it is now.
Yeah.
But you and I used to go to the driving range and hit some golf balls, and I just remember.
See, you're not doing that deliberately, are you? That's an actual thing that's going on there.
What's that?
So you're freezing. So you just started talking about golf balls, and then the screen
Oh.
froze. In fact, you're still frozen, so I can't see. Oh, there you go. You're back. You're back.
Oh, that's it. You're back.
We were just talking about how great the internet is, and now it's frozen on us.
Two things there. First of all, I was saying.
Basil, it's gone, buddy. Signal's gone. Well, oh, okay, he's definitely gone. Well, this is going to be entertaining. Okay, he's definitely gone. Let's see if he comes back in again. Here we go.
I'm there. Are you there, Barney?
Yeah, we're back. We're back. It's a bit pixelated. It might be my signal. I use my phone to tether, so it might be me.
I'm going to blame you.
You can blame me. That's fine. So you were just talking about. Now, I think you're going to tell a story about going to play golf where I ended up with blisters on my hands, aren't you?
Yes, it was. It was the fact that you're the sort of person, Mr. Barney, that does things not just well, but you do them to the best of your ability, and nothing holds you back. If you're going to do something, you do it to the best that you can do. You don't do it half-hearted. So I remember going to the driving range, and suddenly the balls were coming out of this chute, and more balls came out of the chute. 300 balls later in about 30 minutes. And
Did I really hit 300 balls that night?
it was 300 in about half an hour. And the fact was, we looked at your hands and I went, that's going to hurt the following day.
Look, on this hand here, this little bit of my hand, because I play guitar as well, so my fingers are always quite tough on the ends. And I couldn't quite work out what this bit was. I think it was that night that did this on my hand, because I was holding the club.
Yeah, permanent damage. But funnily enough, Barney, talking about going back to the internet.
Yes.
Going back to the internet, what you have to remember when we did Swap Shop is that we were speaking to kids down the line live before we had all this wonderful Zoom thing. We only had Skype, and it was very unstable. So, of course, we used to have to cover sometimes when they disappeared, just like that. When it all disappeared offline, we go, we're doing a swap with somebody from Edinburgh. He's going to swap, and they've gone.
Yeah, that was always fun. That's the great thing about live telly, though, isn't it? You don't know what's going to happen. You know, I would much rather be with somebody like you who knows how to present live telly. So those moments can be quite precarious because obviously what people don't see is that in your ears there's an entire gallery full of people, a producer, a director, a vision mixer, you know, all shouting at each other, going, "What do we do? What do we do?" And if they'd just left us to it, we'd have probably just waffled for hours. Luckily, there weren't really that many technical problems on the show. I think we did okay. There was one. Do you remember my favourite swap? Now I know I've told you this story a few times because I think last time I came to your house, I think I remember telling you this story because something on your wall reminded me of it. Do you remember what my favourite swap was and why?
No, go on. What's your favourite swap and why?
So for those who are new to the premise of Swap Shop, if you had a toy and you were 8 to 12 years old, you could ring our show and you could tell us that you wanted to swap one of your toys for somebody else's. And so somebody else would offer you theirs for yours. And if you liked what they offered, you would do a direct swap and we would be in charge.
Yes.
Everyone got what they wanted. Do you remember the girl that got in touch with a flying pig?
A flying pig?
Oh, it was so. You know me. When I laugh, if I laugh properly, I'm gone, and I can't. For some reason, there's no resuscitation. I'm just gone, and I don't know why it made me laugh. I've watched it since, and I was like, why was I laughing so much? But it absolutely floored me. So she wanted to swap a flying pig. And what you stick it in the roof with a pin.
Yeah.
Turn the battery on, and this thing flaps. It's an actual flying pig, and you spin it with your finger, a bit like swing ball in the 80s.
Oh, I like the sound of this.
It just keeps going around the roof. They're brilliant if you like flying pigs. And she wanted.
And did she get to swap it?
Yes, but what was the reason? Why did she want to swap the flying pig?
She turned vegetarian?
Yeah.
Hey, was it? Oh, I was a guess, that was.
It was. Yeah, she was going to be vegetarian, so she had to get rid of this pig because it just didn't sit right with her anymore. I was gone. Yeah. I was absolutely gone. You went for about 2 minutes.
But wait, I tell you what, that's what I loved about that show. Some crazy swaps. And of course, celebrities would come in with something that they'd like to swap as well. That's and it moved hugely popular. I mean, 3 years. I remember our last year, we did 26 episodes back to back. That was a lot of work.
That was
26, months. A lot of sketches.
Yeah, 6 months of just hardcore filming. That I mean, I remember you and me actually sitting because there was actually a chippy down the road. Remember, we used to go and have some lunch.
Yeah,
go and sit in the chippy. We had an hour to ourselves to get some chips and gravy. I had chips and gravy. No one else did because you're all weirdos. But I remember talking. All three of us were just sat there like wet chamois, like we can't do anything. That was only about a month in, and we had 5 more months to go. It was a grueling schedule, that one. But if I'm being honest about all the shows that I've done, I mean, Prank Patrol is a given. It was so much fun to do that show, and it was just me. So there was, apart from the ninjas who sort of appeared every so often, but there was nobody else to really share it with. You know, the crew were doing their thing, and they were extremely busy, very talented crew. But I didn't really spend time with them because they were busy doing what they had to do, and I just had to get in there and say lines. They're Behaving Badly was scripted, so it was a more of a drama, more of a comedy sitcom. So it wasn't really
that was a sitcom. That was like my Basil Brush show. You were set in a flat.
Yeah, it was just me and Nev. It was, and that was amazing because it was the people that I love to hang around with. In fact, I'm having a chat with them in a couple of days. We're doing a little reunion.
Lovely.
But I think my favourite live show that I ever did really was Swap Shop, just because of the amount of time that we did it, and it was just a lot of fun, and it was never the same. No show was ever the same, and it was proper live telly. When anything,
I mean, I used to come off. I would be shaking at the end of the hour because it was so exciting, and I wouldn't remember it because you were so in the moment and just having a laugh and just having great fun. And I get to the end of the show and go, "Blimey, were we any good? Was it all right?" You know, it was that fast. The whole hour went in 5 seconds. Mate, and we'd have a little breather when they showed a clip of one of the sketches. We go, right. And then what people don't realise is they'd adjust all the timings for the next section and say, right, boys, you got to be quicker. You got to shave a minute off the next section. What? We're going to shave a minute? You know, and then they go, oh, we've gone too much now. Slow it down. What?
Well, you see, that was back in the day when you had somebody in the gallery who did their job, normally the producer or the director, who were actually, they let us have free reign to do live telly. Shows like Blue Peter and shows that are regimented and strict and have a set time to run, they don't let you play like that. Whereas with live Saturday morning TV, you could. And one of my favourite conversations that we ever had, I'll never forget, a little lad called Adam, and he talked like that classic 5-year-old who was completely unaware of his surroundings, didn't care that he was on live telly or that we were counting down the minutes. I remember asking him what he wanted to swap, and he went, "Well, my brother gave me my brother gave me a game."
And we go, get on with it.
Like, come on, quick! And I
Get on
don't
with it.
like
Get on with it.
Oh, it was so good. But what was beautiful about that was that the gallery let us just ride with it. I think we were something like 2 minutes over, and then for the next, I think we actually dropped one of the sketches because our comedy sketches were about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and I think we actually dropped Snout to Nose just to accommodate this amazing kid and his conversation about. I don't even know if we found out what he wanted to swap in the end, but stuff like that. Proper live telly where you had a chance to play. Oh mate, I miss it. I can't believe it's so long ago.
And they used to call it falling off the air at the end if you hadn't got your goodbye in, with all the credits going across the thing. We're going, quickly, we've got to say this, we've got to say that, and goodbye, just before we fell off the air.
We never fell off air. Falling off air is I'd be mortified if we fell off air, because it means that I can't do my job, because you get a given count in your ears. They'll say, right, 15 seconds to off air, and you're like, great, I've got 15 seconds to talk, wrap it all up. Just enough time to say I'll see you next week. But if you fall off air, that means that the satellite company that cuts the feed and plays the next program cuts you off. So you can mid-sentence. That was if that happened, you weren't.
Well, that's where we were very good, because we knew exactly how to finish, and neither of us had one of those egos that says I've got to have the last word. We would be bouncing towards the end of saying goodbye, and that would be it. Goodbye. Thank you from Swap Shop. It was brilliant.
It really was a nice show, mate. Yeah, it really was.
Oh, we had some great times. And, we'll have good times to come as well on Zoom like this.
Well, I think we should pitch something. I think, obviously, this is a conversation we can have in front of everybody watching, or we can do it in our spare time. But I've got lots of ideas. You know what I'm like anyway. But there's a couple of things that are happening. They were supposed to be happening last year, but this year I've put a few things in place for... don't tell anybody, and there's only about 400 people going to watch this.
Listen, look, it's very good. I'm good at keeping secrets. It's just the people I tell that can't keep them. Boom, boom.
There it is. So I'm building a TV studio.
What, in your house?
No.
What, in the garden?
As in a location. I'm actually building a fully functioning TV studio, and we have a couple of commissions that we're working on. We have a comedy sitcom that's coming out, which we're actually making, and we're also doing a Saturday night. I can't say too much, but there's a show coming that I think you and I should get together on, and there'll be lots of guests from previous years as well. So
I'm just going to go get my photo and CV. I'll just make sure I've got it.
Yeah, if you can send it on to me, send me some headshots, and I'll have a chat with the managers about it. So yeah, that's something to look forward to for sure. But you and I were always going to work together at some point again in the future. It was just a matter of when, really.
It's a matter of time. I mean, you're so creative, Mr. Barney. I always admired you for that. You've never stood still. What's Barney up to? You've always got something happening. You're very creative, whether it be music. I was most impressed with all your music that you did as well. I didn't realize you were such a good piano player.
Well, I know a few tunes.
Yeah, no, you're very, very good, dear boy. And coming out of this lockdown, it's probably made you more creative because you've had to do it sitting at home.
Well, that's the great thing about the lockdown. That's the only great thing about it, obviously, because, I can't see my dad. My dad's, a bit older now, and I can't go and see my friends. I live on my own, so I am my own bubble, and anybody else that I know lives 400 miles away. So it's been a really good time for doing stuff. So this table that I'm on here, I've got my laptop and I've got my camera that I'm talking to you in, which is my camera that I normally film stuff with. This has become a product table. So I make commercials. So I make little mini 15-second Instagram commercials and all that stuff that I like to do anyway, just things that keep me busy. But hey, it's the future. It really is. Because after being
you've got all the lingo, you see. You've got all the lingo, you've got all the electronics. I just have sparkly curtains and box cushions and things. But I'm mastering it eventually with all these, these camera bits and bobs. I'm rather enjoying that.
Mate, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you got yourself set up and you've got a camera. I know you're a busy boy and you've got stuff to do, but mate, thank you so much for joining me and for having a chat. It's been really nice having a little trip down memory lane. And
This is
yeah,
absolutely marvellous, Bonnie. I'm going to have a little play with my dunk bed game down there and perhaps put the space helmet on as well. But
you do that.
thankfully, everything's on YouTube. And if anybody's watching this, go and drag down Basil and Barney's Swap Shop. And there we are. I think what we need to do is get those sketches in some format, whip them out so people can watch several snout to noses back to back.
I'll get my people to speak to their people and then they can speak to your people, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I like that, Barney. Listen, your TV studio, if I join you, it could be Basil Brush, that's BBB, and we just need a C at the end, and we are the BBBC.
We could do BBBC, which is Basil and Barney's Broadcasting Corporation. That might work.
I'm liking it already. Yes.
Loads of
Yes,
ideas from Basil. Look, it's been an absolute
Okay.
pleasure, bud. I will speak to you soon, and yeah, I might go and hit some golf balls.
Let me just give you a little cuddle. Here we go.
Oh, mate, that's lovely. Thank you. It's
Yeah. Lots of love to you, Barney. I'm going to have a nice cup of tea and dunk me ginger nuts.
Sounds good. You do that.
Ta-da, mate.
All right, buddy. See you soon.
How do I turn these things on? Do I just grab the mouse and then I switch it off and hang on. It's not as easy as it looks, is it? There's a mouse there. I've got the mouse, and then
I'm leaving this in, you know. I am leaving this in. Basil Brush. What a ledge.